No problem. Thank you.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Bob.
That was our hidden partner in the corner that isn't on it. See, there he is right there.
Yeah, he's not one of those guys that tries to get in the limelight.
You have to get the other people in. I lean back anyhow, so you'll never.
You never catch you. You can't far enough.
Doesn't matter, Bob. I know you're there.
Texted me in the middle of the meeting. I'm sitting here all the time now. I like it over here.
You got something going there.
I actually do want to de-emphasize. I really like the board being in the front and maybe Fran and I being against the edge.
Oh,
That way the board can be the spotlight. But that involves us rewiring this, and that'll happen some other day.
Save on Saturday.
yeah,
The Showbirds, the lady got locked in the outhouse.
yeah. Oh, jeez.
So we say,
Holiday
always
weekends.
check before you lock them up. Yep. So I stopped down to get a pair of EMS boots down at the leather shop. Robin lets us charge them down there. I've never got a pair. Robin said stop down. When I was talking to Paul, Robin said to charge it, send her the invoice, and he goes, well, I don't know. He said, I didn't think the village had any money, Bob.
Good. We're getting the message out.
Yeah, we have enough of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
I thought that came from his sign, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. In the past, though, when we approved that sign, he always wanted to stick it in the corner. He said, we're only approving it in front of your business, you know. If you stick put it somewhere else, it's not permitted. We kept telling him that.
Well, and now they're just, we can't say, enforcing that is such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if it were up to me, we would just eliminate them because they're not useful for anything.
Yeah, it's not, it's mostly for if you wanna put like a chair and table out, or
Yeah.
something right in front of your business instead of some, you know, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I said it to you, but I found it interesting.
Hey.
Hello. Right. Yep.
Technology at its best.
That's right.
It's tough to sneak when your boss is sitting in the room.
I am.
Hard to tell.
I know, right? I'm sorry.
I'm Jeremy.
Nice to meet you.
We'll talk more after we get started.
So we got, who's on Van?
I'm not sure. There comes Van, I think. Oh, that's me.
That's you.
Yeah, it's screwy. You hear the kickback, and I can hear people speaking right now through my phone.
In your phone.
All right, well, do we give Van an extra minute or two? No. Okay. Yeah, he didn't say he was gonna be here.
No, no word.
Microphones on, please.
We are recording and streaming.
All right. Well, we will call the meeting to order at 6 PM. Thank you all for coming. First item is discussion and possible action of appointment to fill the vacant trustee position, including swearing in of new trustee, Bradley Lutz. Brad, do you want to come up to the podium? We're just going to ask a few questions, if you don't mind.
It is.
One, I'd like to introduce myself, Jeremy. Sorry, I was rushing in. Thanks for putting yourself out there. There's quite a few people that did. Oh, it was just you. It was just one, so it's you. But we do want to do the interview like we do it for everyone else. So if you could just please tell us a little bit about yourself, background, history in the village, hobbies, anything that you want us to know.
Sure. Well, I'm a 17-year resident of the village. My wife and I settled here in '03. We purchased a house up on the hill above the ball field where the Schultes used to live. We have 2 kids, 15 and 13, 2 daughters. And recently I joined the fair board about a year and a half ago. And because my daughters have gotten to the ages that they are, I've finally gotten to the point now where our family has a little bit more free time. So
Okay.
I can start getting involved with the community and giving back a little bit. And I figured these are some of the ways that I can do that. So
Excellent.
as far as activities and hobbies, I'm a big pinball and arcade guy. So I keep a little arcade in my basement, and I fix and repair them, sell them. It's kind of my side hustle.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
If you've been in the pizza cellar, you've seen a few of my games. So
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Next question. Why do you want to serve on the village board?
well, I think the best way to make an impact on your community in a positive way is to join and get involved. And what better way to be involved than to take a formal role in helping the community move forward. So that was a no-brainer for me. I've always been a relatively vocal supporter of what's going on in the town. So
Okay.
this was just the logical next step for me.
Okay.
And I seriously did consider submitting for candidacy last fall.
Right.
I was coached to look for an opportunity with the school board, and I almost jumped into that foray as well. But I decided that I needed to take just a little bit longer time to decide what I wanted to do and where I wanted to put my efforts.
Okay.
But when this opportunity jumped in, I'm like, all right, so something's speaking to me here. I think this is
Okay.
where I need to go.
Right on. All right. What 1 or 2 issues / topics do you think are important to our village, and how would you work to address these?
Well, I mean, a lot of them parallel what's currently happening in the nation at large. You know, really, I think that cohesiveness and doing what we can to just foster partnership between the residents and the administration of the village as a whole. I think we don't really have any room for divisiveness anymore. So petty arguing and just cutting people down is not really helping anyone in the nation, let alone what's happening in our own city. You know, or our own village, but we have a unique location in where we're at. Being a tourist town, river town, it's a destination for a lot of people that don't normally live in the community. So we have the opportunity to kind of put our best foot forward as a Wisconsin community that will attract a lot of business potentially. And I think that if we can find a way to coalesce as a community, that would be a nice way to move forward. And then I think second, well, just one of the biggest things that, and it's my own personal mission, but I think it would be helpful for a lot of other people is to help share information. I think just learning about what it is to run a village, or at least be part of a village, and communicating that to others so that they can have awareness around issues and what people are talking about, and just sharing knowledge, because I think that a lot of times the best decisions can be made when you have more knowledge. So just bring people together and share info. Really, these are the two biggest things that I want to do.
What qualities are important in a village trustee?
Well, I think integrity would definitely be up at the top of the list. I think doing what you say and saying what you do, and making sure that you're carefully measured in how you communicate with others. But just, I just think that being open-minded and willing to learn and be a part of the process, I think will go a long way towards just helping move forward in what we're up to. So I'll admit readily that I've got a lot to learn, and that's probably gonna be my biggest participation measure for the next, however long it's gonna be. But that's really where I'm gonna be focusing my efforts to begin with. But I think just, the qualities of integrity and just honesty. Nobody really likes to communicate with somebody that they can't trust what they're saying is true or not true or otherwise. So, and I've always been a pretty straight shooter, pragmatic at times, and it raises some eyebrows with some people at times, but no one can fault me for not understanding what I'm talking about, and really just trying to get to the root of what I'm learning about.
Excellent. Okay. What would you say is your leadership style?
I'd say it's a fair mixture of delegation and coordination. I'm not afraid to step out and show some folks what I believe to be the best path forward, but I'd say I'm intelligent enough to understand when I'm in a field where I know that there are others that can lead us to success more efficiently and quickly than I can, and I will absolutely leverage those kinds of people in a group to really get us to where we need to be. So I've been accused of being a centrist in the past, but I think that that's worked out really well for me in what I do in my groups, just because I know that sometimes people need a good kick to get to where they need to be, but other times, there might be somebody else out there that can really help you too. So I'm always open to input.
Okay. And then last question is, what is your favorite book, movie, album, or food?
I'm currently rereading Ernest Cline's Ready Player One, but I don't know if you've ever read it or not, but it's an homage and a montage to 80s nostalgia.
Yep.
So I found it before it became popular, before it became a movie, and told everybody that I could about it. So,
Yep.
And I'm
Okay.
eagerly awaiting his next book coming out in November. So
Excellent.
I'm a nerd at heart.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions outside of these that they wanted to ask?
Good.
Okay. So Brad, you would be fulfilling the term that Tim left, which would
Right.
be ending in April.
Yep.
So this would just be now through April. Re-election stuff would be in December, if I'm not mistaken, if you want to continue on.
Okay.
You will sit up here, obviously, Tuesday, every second Tuesday of the month is our board meeting. Kind of expect people to be here. Obviously, things come up, but you need to make that. And then also you'll sit on a variety of committees. Some meet quarterly, some meet more often, depending what's going on. Do you think you have the time available to kind of fulfill these things?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I wouldn't have stepped forward if I didn't think I could dedicate the kind of time that I needed to for that. So,
Flexible schedule.
Yep.
And so, yeah, like now we're going into kind of busier time with budgets and stuff like that.
Yes.
So we'll have more meetings, and then there's times where there's less meetings. So.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
What's our next step?
Anyone, I guess, have any questions or comments?
This is Bruce. Brad, if you could step around to your left and turn towards the camera. I'm at home right now and I can't see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's pointed towards the group. Let me try to get to where you can see me. There.
Oh, perfect, perfect. That's great. And also, I wanted to comment that I appreciate one of your things that you understood was you got a lot to learn. I've been on the board for 3 years, and believe me, the number of things you learn are incredible. But if you like to learn, it's a great opportunity.
That's understood. Yeah, that's, I think, one of the key attributes that I pegged a long time ago. You may know what you know, and you may know what you don't know, but not knowing what you don't know, there's a large body of knowledge there, so.
Yeah, there is. And the thing is, this board is a good group that likes to work together. So, and none of us thinks we have the answer all the time. So we always collaborate real well. So it's glad to hear that that's kind of the way you want to approach things too. So I think you'll fit right in. So thank you for coming around. I just wanted to know what you looked like.
Yeah, well, well, he's still got a mask on, so we'll never really know until next month, maybe.
Okay.
Hey, this is Van. I read over your resume, and I think it's really nice. I'm really impressed with it. I know we've had some conversation over the net, and I'm just really glad that you stepped up. It's really important, and I think you're the guy that is going to do a wonderful job, because you're going to find out what's everything, all the questions that you've always had and are wondering, and what work that this board has done just in the past few years to basically it seems like the numbers are high and how the money is spent and those types of things, but you're going to find out that it's our money, it's the people's money, it's all of our money. And I just want to be I want to have the standards up there high enough where people are going to really trust our board. We've gone through a lot of changes, a lot of new employees, a lot of new administration. We've gone through a lot of things, including with the building and all those, but we also have a lot of projects that are coming down the pipe. And I'm really glad that you're going to be involved in that, because I think you're going to have a deep appreciation for what has happened the past few years. And I think you're going to be impressed. And I'm already impressed with your resume, and I think I'm really excited about working with you in the next months, and hopefully longer than that. And that's all I've got to say.
Thanks, man.
Okay. So, do we need a motion? Can I just,
I'll
how
I'll
do we
make,
do it?
I mean, do we just make a motion to accept
I think so.
Brad as the village board
To appoint him
trustee?
as a village
Or
board
to-
member, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint.
Make sure you say how long you're appointing him
Yeah.
Okay.
until the balance of the term.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so I'll make a motion to appoint Brad to fulfill the completion of the term through next April.
I will second.
I will second that. This is Van.
Too late, Van.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
It's this mask, it's so thick.
All right.
Thanks, though. All right,
Yeah.
motion by Deb, seconded by myself, to appoint Bradley Lutz to fulfill the term through April. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, passed. Bradley,
Welcome
you may
aboard.
come sit up here.
Where would you like me to?
Oh,
start?
wait, actually, stay down there for a moment.
Yes.
How we do,
do the swearing.
we do need to swear in.
And then if you could speak just right into the mic so everybody on the web can hear.
This side, you want me on, I guess this side? Okay, please raise your right hand. This is the official oath for the office of village trustee for the village of Osceola. We're in the state of Wisconsin and Polk County. At this point, I'm going to read, and I would like you to repeat after me. I, Bradley Lutz,
I, Bradley Lutz,
having been appointed to the office of trustee,
having been appointed to the office of trustee,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay, that's it. I'll have you sign over here.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now it'll be swore at from now on.
Yes.
Begin to know what a lightning rod's purpose in life is.
Well, he'll know what being incompetent is, you know?
Brad, if you ever have a question at all, feel free to ask. Okay.
Don't ask us. I wanted to ask you a question of what the airspeed of the unladen swallow is.
All right, so, next item, approval of the agenda.
So move.
I'll second. That's Bruce.
Motion by Joel, second by Bruce to approve the agenda. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Approval of the minutes. We have two. We have a regular meeting dated August 12th, 2020, and a special village board meeting dated August 27th, 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve both.
Seconded?
Motion by Bob, seconded by Brad. Do you prefer Brad or Bradley? Sorry.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. And there might be a pause for a few meetings here where I'm like, okay, Brad. All right, so motion by Bob, seconded by Brad to approve both minutes. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Next item, public input and ideas, limit 5 minutes per speaker. We have two callers on the phone. I'm not sure if either one of those is a public person that would like to speak. As there's no one in the audience, we will move on. All right, next item, reports. Staff reports. First is Public Works.
Looks like Rick is on the line.
Yep. Rick, if you want to.
I am on. I don't know if Todd's on. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. I am running like 3 computer screens, so give me 1 second. Technology is always fun.
Yeah, it is.
In addition to the report here, I just wanted to note that we did. I know you guys have seen lead and copper testing show up quite a bit on this agendas or my reports. We're actually almost done with that, so I'm happy to report. But it's a process. We have all new sample sites with Bob and I think one other one being the exception. Thank you, Bob, by the way, for taking that sample for us. But yeah, so we're happy to report that we sent those off this morning. It's a big to-do to try to drop off bottles. Bruce, thank you too, and get people residents to take samples for us. So this is the first time that we dropped off bottles one day, and we got 9 of them back the next day, which was planned and really good. And we got the next one, the 10th, back the day after. So that's 10 out of 10 in the first week. And that's really good. That's really crazy. So really happy that we sent them off. Speedy picked them up this morning, and we'll get those results back and get them off to the residents and file them away for ourselves. So any questions on the report at all?
No.
No.
Good, cool.
No, I just, Rick, this is Van. I had a comment. You guys are doing a really good job. Fantastic. I know guys have had a tough summer. It's been really challenging, but just thanks for your good work. A lot of people recognize it, and just keep it up.
Man, thanks for the kind words, and I'll absolutely relay that to the guys.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
All right, next is library. If anyone is here from the library. I have my first meeting this Thursday with the library, but everyone has their report in the packet. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay,
Yeah, I'm good.
all right. Fire, is the fire department on the phone?
Yep, we're on the phone. Can you hear us?
We can.
All right. So, month of August, we had a total of 6 total runs, 4 runs in the village, 2 runs in Farmington Township. Breakdown of the runs, we had 4 traffic-related incidents and 2 alarms. So, a little bit slower than the month before. We did add some signage to the fire hall. Some of the authorized personnel only signage per Ben's email he sent out, just to try and make sure that there's clear markings on all of the entry points and even the entry access areas within the building. So a lot of that signage is up, and we will be getting some signage for the overhead doors for no parking, so that that's clearly visible as well to keep the bay doors clear. And some no parking signs in the hydrant area, the hydrant bay area, where we like to make sure that is open for tanker trucks to get loaded in the winter time. So as far as training, we got a lot of training coming up this month. Starting this week, we've got 11 fire department members going to some form of training starting this. We have 2 new members that will be attending entry level A and B starting this week. We have another one that has just finished their firefighter level 2 certification. That'll be coming up in the month of September. They'll certify at the state level for their practical exam. And then we have 8 members that have signed up to attend the fire officer class with WITC beginning in September, starting tomorrow. This course is required. It is state funded by the state of Wisconsin. It's part of the SPS 330 that I know we talked about, I think last year in one of our village report meetings. So, and 1 individual starting on fire instructor class. So that's what we've got going on with training this month. So guys will be pretty busy for the next 2 to 3 months.
Hey, Joey,
Any questions?
Yeah, Joey, this is Bob. I've heard that
Yep.
we're gonna lose a longtime fireman, Dan Strobach, is moving out of the area.
Yep, he has indicated that he was planning on moving out, and I haven't heard him say officially yet, but but we were planning on it.
February.
Yep,
Oh,
so
great. I just
we
wanted to
knew
make
it
sure
was
we
going
recognize
to
him.
be coming up.
Hey, Joey, this is Van.
Yep.
Joey, okay. How's the new truck doing?
So far, it's been good since it's been repaired. We
Yeah.
got it out, and for training, we were out behind the old hospital doing some training with setting the outriggers and boom
Nice.
movement. Almost all of the members that were on the department had a chance to run the controls, get familiar with the do's and don'ts and the order and sequence of setting it up and getting it ready to perform on scene. So we had good turnout that night. So a lot of guys got to go through from beginning to end. So
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome.
running well.
Just don't let Donnie drive it anymore. He can direct from another vehicle.
Yeah, he was doing good training. He was.
Yeah.
Thanks, fans.
Yeah, you betcha. All right, that's all the questions. Any other structural problems with the building that we need to talk about?
Nope, not right now.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks a lot, guys.
Joey, this is Deb. I
Thank
have
you.
one quick
Thanks.
question. Last year, you guys had an individual who participated in the tribute to 9/11 with the firefighters with doing the comparable amounts of steps on the stair stepper up at the Wild River. Do you know if he or any others are going to do that this year? Because if so, I'd like to get it out there a little more. It was quite impressive and really cool.
Yes, we do have, I know there's at least 3 of us that'll be doing it on Friday. And Wild River Fitness, I believe, has a promotion going on for the whole month of September. If I remember right, that you can sign up and for a donation, you can try and do the stair climb challenge there, and then they'll accept donations for the fire department too through the month of September.
Okay,
But I believe there's 3 of us that will actually be going there to do it. So I've been practicing a little bit myself. I had to do the Cascade stairs with a pack on earlier last week. So
Wow.
any sense of what time you'll be there?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Any sense of what time you guys will be there?
I believe they opened it after hours from 2 to 5, I believe it was, that they were going to have it open for us to work on that.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
yep. And if you were interested, it's 16 and a half trips down and back to represent the vertical stairs of the World Trade Center down at Cascade Falls. So,
Wow.
So Don Stark will not be participating in that because I don't want to fall back up the stairs after one trip.
Good one, Donnie.
Trying to catch up with Van in age.
Hey, you're on your way.
So to be safe and won't cost Osceola nothing, I won't be trying it.
Good job.
I have one last question. Last month, you guys did there was a food drive held up there, or a food distribution, correct?
I think they just used the parking.
What we did is the church used the old Fab Lab for a donation. They had all the food. They brought all the food. I just basically unloaded it for them and helped them get it kind of in. They bagged it all up, and then on Saturday they did a food drive for the area. So basically that's all we had to do with it.
How'd it go? Was it well attended, do you know?
Yeah, they had about 200 and some people go through and pick up food, and they donated 3 truckloads to Roseanne, and they donated, I think, 3 or 4 more truckloads to the other local food shelves.
Okay,
Wow.
thank you.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you. Next, building permits.
In front of you, we have the monthly report for August, and then the overall. We're sitting at 5 new homes and a larger greenhouse project. The greenhouse one is up at the Horst property that Planning Commission and the board looked at last year. That's the greenhouse replacement from the arson, not arson, but the fire that happened that burned their old one down. As for 5 new homes, it's nice to see some new growth. I believe all of these permits are within the Gateway neighborhood, and that brings our annual total to 15 new homes and 2 new commercials. Again, the greenhouse fits within that commercial line, so take that for what it's worth. And we're hopefully on track to see that 20 to 25 homes this year, which keeps us kind of on pace for what we'd like to see for 10, 15 years from now. The only other thing I want to state is that we've had a lot of questions and emails come in and calls in an abundance for concerned homeowners in the Gateway neighborhood with how their homes are being built, quality, construction process, village's enforcement of rules, and when homes have to get done, how we permit them, and what's considered within state building regulations for code inspection versus what's considered more aesthetic that it doesn't apply to our rules. An example being is a kitchen only needs to have a sink. State law doesn't require inspectors to look at everything of carpet color, quality, or things like that. And we've had some concerns from residents that they're not happy with how things are being constructed. Again, it's not something that we can enforce from a rule standpoint, though we can always pass these on to the developers and builders, reminding them that, some of these are concerns that they're getting. And in the end, always, it's kind of a good mental note for all of us to buyer beware. People are buying the homes, they should know what they're buying, that these are entry levels, they're not $1 million homes, they're nice quality entry levels. And that's something to think about. But things we can look at doing from a code perspective is maybe how do we encourage lawns to get in a timely manner, and continuing to enforce clean sites so garbage and refuse doesn't blow around the site on a really windy day. So we're just being mindful of some of those, and we're working with our inspector. At this point, we haven't found anything wrong that's happened, but if you guys get some emails about some home qualities, know that we are working forward with that with our inspector. Other than that, it was a nice August, which we expected.
Ben, this is Van. I got a question for you. This is concerned citizens talking about home quality. Is this also involving the actual construction of these buildings, or is this just a interior or generally the looks?
Van, it seems like based on their concerns, it's maybe somewhat between the two. Maybe quality of materials that our inspector doesn't have the authority to regulate. Class 1, top of the line windows versus entry level simpler windows. The simpler ones might breathe a little bit more than the top of the line that really seal out the air. Things like that. Or hollow core doors versus solid. We know that hollow core can settle over time more than solid do. It's things like that. Things that we don't get involved with. That's more of a person that's buying the home has to realize what they're maybe buying.
Right. But I guess my point is that, we require certain things for safety too. And this is something we want to think about as far as, are these homes going to be able to withstand, like some of the more quality built homes? Are these, safe for, heavy winds? Are the people going to be safe in them? I hope it's not getting to that point where we have to all of a sudden set aside another commission or committee to start doing this, or actually requiring our whole housing inspector to up the ante a little bit on these inspections. If this poor workmanship or quality of material, is this putting other neighborhoods or other residents in danger, perhaps more than they should be?
Yeah, these are more aesthetics. Van, structurally the houses are fine. They wouldn't pass the building inspection without those rules. It's more aesthetics level.
All right, I'm just asking the question because, one thing starts and then we go to the next situation. So we just want to stay on top of it. But thanks for the information.
All right. Administration?
A few of them for you. I forwarded all of the village board members, and Brad, I will forward it to you too. I haven't had you cashed into our email yet. Congratulations also, by the way. Annual audits, I forwarded a report for you showing some of the draft paperwork. We're a little bit further behind than we would have liked, but with one audit person retiring and then the new people coming on board, that complicated matters a little bit. But overall, the village has some good and some bad. We didn't take any major black eyes, but we're still recovering from a few in the past. And that's, I will certainly be providing some more input, and we will have our audit firm in person or over video do a presentation like every year. Developments, we're continuing to move forward with some great developments in the village, as well as continuing to gain momentum on some of the other opportunities we have. The old hospital site is continuing to be one that we're hearing more and more about, and I'm hopeful that we can see some progress in the next year or two. As a reminder to everybody, there's a public hearing scheduled tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's a planning commission public hearing to talk about the proposed tax increment district number 3. The planning commission will provide a recommendation to the board, and on September 23rd, there'll be a village board public hearing to recommend approval or deny that TID creation. Really excited for that opportunity as it provides designated funding and for projects that we have in that area, as well as ticks off a lot of our capital improvement needs in the area. Also within that September 23rd meeting, we're originally planning on a workshop for the village board to go over the board meeting on the 22nd, but given that we have one the 23rd, we're going to roll this all into one larger meeting. So you'll get some materials for our 2021 budget, the capital improvement program, as well as PWise. PWise changed hands, it traded, so they have to go through all of the process to get their liquor license or request one. As anytime you change ownership, you need to go through that. And they're required to have a 15-day notice. That's all been provided. So we thought, since we're meeting already, Fran and I will collect all the paperwork to review a liquor license request by the new owners. At this point in time, that's the only request we've gotten for any liquor license. If any comes in that qualify within that timeline, we will. Otherwise, we'll certainly let you all know. Last two things I have for you is the village was just notified that this Crestron system that we have in this boardroom now has a program that will allow it to go full digital, full wireless conference capability, much like we thought it would have. There is a new add-on. It's a box a little bit larger than a tablet that plugs in, and it makes the system go completely virtual for meetings. So no longer do we have to set up a second camera. We can actually use the camera system and everything for it. It's $1,500, so it's not cheap, but we are pretty confident that we can get that reimbursed. And, you know, I'm gonna make a little bit of argument to the company saying, you guys made some pitches that this system was gonna be able to do that. You should consider a discount, because we were under the impression when this whole system was put in that it had some of those capabilities. Maybe we can get an even further discount because of that. So I am planning on making that purchase and requesting that it gets reimbursed through the CARES funding. If it doesn't, admin will just probably eat that cost, as I think it's well worth it. And lastly, it's union time for our public works and utility employees. Their union contract expires at the end of the year, so I'll be looking at setting up some discussions with their union representatives to see what they're asking for, what they want to do. Bargaining for union is very limited unless you're public safety, but there's still some things like salary that they can bargain for, and we'll certainly be discussing some of those, and any final approvals will of course be with this board. So there'll be some updates with that as it goes. And that's all I have, Jeremy.
As far as, like, you mentioned the audits and the digital system stuff, last year, was that when we had the problem with doing the audit briefings, you remember that?
Yes, we had our audit meeting.
Will we be able to do something different this year, so?
Yes, we at a minimum will use this system.
Okay.
Because it's a workshop, we'll likely set it up on the back TV like we did with the town of Farmington.
Okay, cool. And then, I don't know, can we schedule, or that September 23rd meeting you mentioned, can we just check times right now, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely, we're looking
6
at.
PM work with everyone for that night too? It's a Wednesday? No?
I'll see if I
Yeah.
can get out of the school board meeting.
There's school board meeting that night? Okay.
Fine. Yeah, I know, Bob, you already mentioned that you wouldn't be able to make it.
Well, I'm gonna try.
Put 6 PM start time? Good. Okay. Let's just plan on that then, 6 PM. All right, thank you, Ben. And police, which I think normally we have go first, but tonight we're having you go last.
I've been rotating,
Oh, have you been?
yeah, just
Nice.
to make it fun.
Excellent.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, man.
Hi, Ron, Bruce.
Welcome to the board, Brad.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So in my board report, as usual, I just try to highlight some data for the month of things we did. It's not inclusive of everything by any means. I try to outline some of the more significant calls for service we've had, either quirky ones or ones that actually required a lot of time either during or after. So you can see I talked about a few incidents here. One was one that Bob was on as a first responder. That was the incident from the bridge. That was an interesting call, but I can tell you, I'm glad we had the 2nd Avenue Hill to access with the ambulance. And I'm glad that we had so much assistance there, because it was kind of a weird spot where he was accessible, but we had to navigate the little creek that's there, which of course is slippery because of rocks and everything else, but it worked out really well. We had people on the bridge and people beneath the bridge, which was nice to have ample help. Any questions on any of the data that I provided, or any some of the calls that I recapped there? Okay. Well, I'm just dying to get the exciting news that I'm sure you've all heard by now, but Osceola, the village of Osceola did receive a COPS grant. Back in June when they were announced, we were not on the list. We did not get you didn't get one letter, but they announced all the grants that were given out. St. Croix Falls did receive one. They put in for a school resource officer, which was the priority for the grants. So they got one, which was good, but we did not. I was notified on August 28th that the village of Osceola did receive a grant, a COPS grant, and that it was effective June 1st. So I think that they're just behind the times with being overwhelmed with COVID and making decisions and everything else. And from what I understand and found out today, we can actually request that this grant be extended. Say we start this grant October 1st, we can extend it through October 1st, 2023, so we won't miss anything. So Ben and I have been working together to try to seal the grant up, get some signatures, financial and department head, things like that. So in the coming weeks, in the coming week or two, we should be green lighted to fill that full-time position with reimbursement. Excellent. The grant will cover $125,000 over the next 3 years, which is roughly half of a full-time officer's salary with benefits. So it's a really, really good deal for the village.
Awesome. I'd like to say thanks to everyone that worked on that and got that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you. And finally, in
Yeah,
closing,
super.
Ben mentioned it. We've been working on the capital budget as well as the operating budget. Ben met with me and I think other department heads regarding the capital budget, and I'm currently working on the operational budget and putting some numbers together, including bids or costs for things that I'll present to all of you, so you'll know what our needs are. Okay, any questions at all? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Next, Chamber of Commerce, Main Street. Jermaine, I see you're on the line.
She was. Oh,
Hey, there
there she is.
Hi, guys,
Hello.
and Deb, everybody. So, haven't been on here for a while, but anyway, wanted to say welcome to Brad.
Thank you.
And a couple of things that are going on we just had a customer service award for Lynn Isaacson at the Osceola Lanes, and that was very positive. Her whole family came out. You know, some attention for some of these frontline workers is really nice during this COVID time. So I think they all appreciate that kind of attention. And things that we're planning right now. So we're gonna try some social mixers that are gonna be socially distanced and outdoors. One coming up will be at the golf club, Crooked Creek, and then on October 1st. And then we're planning one right now at Bending Branches again. Some of you guys attended that last year and was well received. We're hoping we have good weather for both, but you'll get invitations and we hope you guys and Deb will attend. I'm gonna say guys all the time. So I want to just say, this is really nice to be able to have virtual option here. I was able to prepare dinner while you guys were talking and now I just come on, so pretty cool. Actually have dinner in the oven. Anyway, and then the other things that are going on are a couple years ago, we talked about moving away from having, big music events and so on. So we're trying this new Music on Main thing. It's street musicians over there at the public parklet over there by Buberall and Cutler Law Office. So we've got street musicians planned for the next up through October 24th. Small little groups of people, Minnesota Brass, couple little guitar acoustic people playing. So that should be fun. Just bring a little music downtown, a little liveliness and a little entertainment. So we're going to give that a shot. So every Saturday, 3 to 5 p.m. And then let's see what else. We've had a little, big changes coming around. Greg Hickox has moved on from Midwest One, so he's no longer on our board. And then Gwen Minnick-Wright stepped aside on our board as well. She's too swamped. So those are two changes on our board. And we're putting more attention into our committees. So our Economic Vitality Committee had its first meeting. Sean Camroot is going to head that one up, and they're in the middle of determining what their direction is going to be and trying not to overlap what's already being done. And then Nicole Bartley, who is the owner of the Sleepy Thicket, is going to head up the retail and restaurant group. So this is the newer generation coming forward. We're excited about it. I think it's going to bring some new energy and refresh and refocus for 20 and 21, for the end of 20 and 21. Then the other thing, just the Osceola Activity Magazine got put online, so you can find it online. It's a flip magazine if you haven't seen it. I think you guys got one last month. And then the other thing is, if you read my report, and I have been talking with a lot of people about this, but I've been getting phone calls naturally about Cascade Falls. Somehow my number's on the website for Cascade Falls. So, and I just want to let you know, the comments are, is it open? Of course, number one. Number two is, how much does it cost? And then when I tell them, no, it doesn't cost anything, they're shocked. And then they go on to say, where can I camp is a big one, and then the other one is, can I bring my dog? So I'm sure you've all noticed the number of people in, and we appreciate all the work that it takes to accommodate all these visitors coming into town. It's keeping our downtown alive and surviving through this tough time. So it's good in that way. But, over the weekend, like Willow River had, I got phone calls saying there's a line to get into the park at Willow River in Hudson. Can we come to Osceola? So it's not just Osceola, but we are definitely reaping some of the benefits from the visitors here. So I think, that's all I have to report. We're in a big transition period, trying to kind of pull back some of the committee activities now in a virtual way and get active for fall. I think summer's starting to be behind us, and that's what's going on. Any questions?
Hey, Jermaine, this is Van.
Yeah.
Boy, them food trucks are turning out pretty good, aren't they? Wow, that's a really good idea, and it does attract. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah, and honestly, we cannot take credit. I mean, that's River Group that's been doing those arrangements there. So, there was a little bit of consternation about it, but I think generally, the rule of thumb is the more livelihood, the more vitality you can bring, the more people coming in, everyone,
Yeah, I mean, it's competition, and I understand that, but it does draw in people. And I think that's really, really the best thing we could do, especially during this really rough time. So, I hope it continues. It seems to be working out okay. I just hope it does. And it was nice seeing more people on Main Street this summer than we really expected.
And hopefully, it'll continue through fall, and we can keep everybody safe and well.
I hope so too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
I just have a kind of general question. How are businesses doing that you've heard? Are people doing well, not well? Where are they at?
Generally the spirits are high and they're thinking positive for fall. We just had a meeting today, and COVID has been good to many businesses downtown. I mean, there's some, as you notice, Oak and Ivory is done. They ended end of August. That wasn't completely due to COVID. There was just a change there and a refocus of where they're going. So we hope that is the last one that goes. But generally positive, working their tails off, exhausted and positive, I guess, is the general feeling.
Okay. Any other questions for Jermaine? No? All right. Thanks, Jermaine. All right, next item, other business, discussion and possible action regarding annual Osceola area ambulance service contract.
In front of you is our annual contract for the ambulance. Once again, they are looking at $1 increase per capita. Our population stayed stable based on the most recent population data. And we are looking at a $37,170 contract. That does not necessarily include everything the village has to pay. It's actually, we pay less than that because of some of the portion that we get through other funding sources that kicks back. I believe that some of the 2% dues and other things. But in total, the village would have contracted ambulance service for that amount. And I do want to say that, I do recommend approval of this item, and that I do believe the ambulance is looking long-term into full-time staff to help mitigate some of their long-term staffing needs. So I envision that's probably coming someday in the future too.
Yeah, this is, man, they really give an outstanding service, and it's worth every penny of it. I know they have a heck of a time with the reimbursement from the different programs out there for getting their full bills, and I know they need help on that, but it costs money to run that. They got 2 really good units now, and a really good crew. So anyway, with that, I'll make a motion that we approve the new contract.
I'll second.
Motion by Van, seconded by Joel to approve the new contract for the Osceola area ambulance service. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. All right. Next item, village board and resident involvement on village committees. So this is, it's a couple components of this. So one is the planning commission. Our ordinance currently states that the village president is the chair of it. I would like to change that language to can be, and it would be up to the planning commission to decide who their chair is. Partly just because I know in the past we've had times where village president's the head of that, the head of the admin and finance, just kind of breaking that up a little bit, or having the opportunity to break it up. It wouldn't necessarily have to be. So that's one thing I'm looking for us to discuss tonight, the positives, negatives of possibly doing that. And then also, talked about this a few times, but potentially opening up a couple of the committees for some resident spots. Now, I know a lot of them, like admin and finance, police and fire, public works have 3. So I don't know if opening it up for 1 would work, because then we have an even number. I mean, could, and then I thought maybe 2, but then are we gonna be able to fill them? So I'm just kind of curious what other people's thoughts are on these items, potentially moving forward with some of them. I'd like to see some more resident involvement, and this would provide an opportunity. And maybe people have just a specific interest in some of those, police and fire, public works, and where they could meet quarterly versus monthly and stuff like that, so. Hopefully I made myself clear.
Go ahead, Bob.
This is Bruce. Jeremy, I think that's a great idea. I think the more people get involved, the more they understand about what goes on kind of behind the scenes that isn't that public, and get a better understanding of what we face every day to keep the village viable. So anything we can do to get more people involved, especially non-elected, would be a great improvement.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy, this is Van. I agree what Bruce is saying. I know that there's people out there that have voiced their concerns about being on a committee as a citizen and not actual on the board, that their function really doesn't count, or it doesn't really, doesn't have teeth in it. It doesn't. It does, and I think people need to know that these committees are really important because committees give us our direction as far as the board itself. And usually, since I've been on the board, whatever committee recommends, we pretty much, like I said, I don't remember not going with it. And under the recommendation to either yay or nay, we do it. And I think that's a lot of power, and that says a lot where the direction of your community is going to go. So I just, if we're going to have more citizens interested, we have to have that appeal. We have to make it look appealing because it is appealing and it does give you the power. And if you have the passion for that, I think if you want to be on a committee, I think that's something that we have to let them know that you do have a spot and you do have a position and you do have a voice. And I think that's important because I think it's undervalued. It just seems that way just by the general talk. And they're totally wrong about that. It's a very important position.
And just to speak to kind of what Van was just talking about, I know a lot of people, I've heard this, and I'm sure other people have heard it, is when things come to the board and they're approved, people are like, oh, why are they just rubber stamping? Well, all these things start at an earlier level on these early committees, so that is where your voice would be heard the most, I think, and most influential at the start. And kind of what Brad was saying earlier in the interview, it gives other community members an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what's going on versus just reading it online or kind of coming up with their own idea of what's been happening. And if we have multiple people in these different groups, we have multiple people out in the community actually telling people, oh, no, that's not accurate. This is actually what's happening. Or coming with more input from their friends and family that might not be involved on the board level, I guess. So.
Couple things, Jeremy.
Yeah.
One, planning commission. I think it'd be a great idea to let them elect their own chair. I think in the past, perception was our village president had too much power. And I think we do the committees, we elect our own chairs. I don't know why the planning commission would be any different. The other is, if we're looking at adding a resident onto our other committees, I'm all okay with them giving them a vote too, but I'm not sure how that works when you get tie votes. Fran, if you went to recommend and you had 4 people on a committee, 2-2, how would that work? Or could you just make them a voice on the committee and not a voting member?
Well, yeah, you could make them an ex officio member to start with before you change. The concern is if you don't have enough people right away volunteering to be on the committees, you could set up a structure with 4 or 5, but then you're gonna have quorum issues because you don't have enough people. But if you set it up, maybe inviting them on as ex officio, get enough people on board, and then alter the committee structure later to do it is probably a good idea with it, so.
Yeah, I was just thinking if we add one person on the committee, and I don't know how that works when it's a tie vote,
Right.
but at least give them a voice.
Tie vote is usually a fail,
I feel.
yeah.
I think it's a fail.
Yeah, under Robert's Rules of Orders, a tie vote is a fail.
Okay.
And also, I was just curious, just kind of for clarification, if we're talking about village residents or just citizens at large?
Village resident.
Village resident.
Village
It has to be
residents.
village residents, yeah.
only.
Okay.
Just a comment about, the Admin and Finance Committee. It's only been recently that the village president was a voting member of that. The village president used to attend it a lot, but wasn't a voting member. So, that could be some structure that maybe the village president doesn't attend it.
Well, you're not a voting, admin finance, are you voting? No.
No, I didn't, because I appoint who's on it and I didn't put myself
okay.
on it.
Right,
So.
yeah, he's not a.
Oh, previously when there was a vacancy, then the village president was appointed.
Yeah, he
and then-
appointed himself.
And then,
No.
yeah, so.
No, and I kind of like that, maybe to start the ex officio idea, just to see if we can get some people on them, because I know, and Brad, I'm sure you know now, not a lot of people are jumping at the opportunity. I mean, I've asked numerous people for the planning commission for months, and no one seems to be interested. So it might be hard to get people on it, but maybe once we get some people on it, create some interest. So I don't know, that's kind of a good idea, I like that.
You know, Jeremy, just a suggestion, if we wanted to drum up interest, maybe the idea of doing the ex officio and explaining what that is and saying that our plan is to get, because of quorum issues, we want to make it ex officio to start, but then to let them know that once we get it rolling and we get participation and we don't have quorum issues, we want to transition it to full voting rights. So they know that down the road, if they make the commitment, the payoff is they get a vote. Might be the carrot you want to dangle in front of them.
I think rather than
Just
dangle a
thought.
carrot, we should just create a system that's beneficial to the village.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, you have a couple written comments on there. Okay. I would agree with what everyone has said about the committees. As far as the planning commission, I think more than anything, if you allow the members to choose their, the lead on that, it gives a lot more ownership to that. I think it gets a little more involvement by the rest of the members. I would say if we did that, and it was, whoever is the chair of that committee, it would be good to have that individual have almost like a monthly set time, meet with Ben, Fran, kind of to build the agenda, have the idea of what's on there so that they can speak to most of it, you know, so that they have a full knowledge and can be the leader in the group. And I think it would be a great idea.
Yeah.
I have one question on this. In here, the one piece you didn't mention is creating a taxpayer advisory committee. Curious what you mean by that, what the thoughts are on that. I have my own thoughts.
Yeah, no, and I think kind of know where that's coming from, is we have people that maybe pay taxes in town but aren't residents, who would like to be maybe heard a little bit more, or have a say in some things. So kind of opening an opportunity beyond public comments.
Ben, is this something that's structurally done in, it's, I don't want to create a group at another meeting for the sake of another meeting for people to have to be at. I understand the concept, the idea. I'd be curious, you know, it says advisory group, you know, how the structure work, what are they advising, who are they, you know, and where do they fit, what group are they advising, all of us, admin and finance, police and finance, you know, to me, there's a whole lot there that would have to kind of be fleshed out a bit before we'd want to do much.
I got a question. So we talk about an advisory committee for people that aren't residents of the village but pay taxes here. Why don't they have any more of a voice in our residents? I'm not sure I understand that, because our residents can come see Ben if they got a question, or they can speak at our public input.
Yep.
So can a non-resident that pays taxes here, right? So I'm not sure I agree. I don't know if I agree with that. I think they have as much right as a resident having a voice here. Am I wrong, or?
Yeah, I think a lot of these concerns came more so from a venting of, how come I pay taxes in the community? How come I have a job in a place where I employ people in the community, but I can't vote on who a board member is and isn't? And that's a bigger state issue. That's a whole different can of worms. But then the second half of that was, I still have some valid input and thoughts. How is there a way that maybe I could be part of a think tank to help get that? And to answer some of Deb's questions, every community is different. The smaller the community, you tend to have more board involvement in committees, where it might be a 3-person committee and all 3 are board members, because it's simply hard to get people. But the larger you get, the larger population pool you have, the more interest people have, and the easier it is to fill one board position appointment and then 4 or 5 residents. I don't know that we're at the level where it's going to be really easy to see that, as we have 4 open positions or 5 open positions right now for committees, but it's worth a thought. And then the other side of it is, for the maybe the taxpayer advisory committees, we see a lot of that when it comes to strategic planning, larger range initiatives. Osceola had a couple of those, some of those vision sessions we had years back. That's where you really get a lot of community member, not just resident input. But state law says that, just because you pay taxes here doesn't mean you have a vote for an election. And I think that was some of the venting, the one email I got was.
Well, it's beyond state law, it's state constitution, so,
Exactly.
so that's just what it is. But I think the committees that you're talking about, having ex officios on, that's a good way to be involvement too. Instead of creating another committee right away, start there.
I know through all of this that a lot of, from interest from non-residents, but taxpayer and like business owners comes along the line of wanting to have a little bit more conversation that they're involved in like the planning commission or admin and finance, things that have more to do with sort of the downtown business area or the business park or something. I know that there's a lot of, I like the idea of having them have some input. Anybody who pays taxes here should have some, the ability to speak. But I don't know about like voting on, on anything. That to me kind of is a sacred thing that you're a resident of where you vote on pretty much kind of anything or your, whatever. But I would encourage in some way either that we have, we create or contact through, I don't know if like through the retail group at the chamber or some sort of way with them to have like almost a standing person that comes from either the industrial park or downtown business area to planning commission type meetings or something. Maybe they're not exactly a member. I know years back, being part of the Historic Preservation Commission, they weren't a member, but I know that the chamber was at every one of those type meetings. And I'm wondering if there's a way to kind of encourage or have an assigned individual in some way that can speak back to those taxpayers.
Yeah, this is Van. That's a good one. Maybe we should create like the Outlander Committee or the Outer Limits Committee. So something that has a little bit of say. And I hear it too, and I understand, Deb, where you're coming from, and Bob. This is a problem, and constitutionally, I see that too. But with them paying the taxes and employing, we've talked to a lot of the people that employ a lot of people and who do not live in the village limits, but supply a lot of jobs. And it's not just that, they also do help the community a lot in so many other ways. Just like a lot of the businesses do, and they thrive, but they should have some sort of say. But you're right. Maybe what the chamber can do is be an avenue, but then again, they're more than welcome to join a lot of other committees, but maybe creating a new committee too. I don't know, but it sure has to be addressed.
Well, I think, go ahead.
Part of my concern with it is that a resident benefits and is impacted by nearly everything we do on here in certain ways. And a business owner who pays taxes in here, they have a big impact on us as far as they employ people who are residents here. Their employees spend money in the town and everything like that, but their focus is a lot smaller than a general resident would be. So, that's where I'm asking, what would they be advising on? Because there's pieces, should they be advising on, historic preservation? Should they be advising on, police and fire? Where does their advisory kind of expertise go? And where does it cross over where it kind of blurs that line of what is a business owner who doesn't live here and being involved, and residents who are impacted by everything we do?
But Deb, I was thinking about that too, is that the people that work for that individual, a lot of them do live here in the community, and they voice their concerns also to their employer. And their employer gives them feedback is to say, well, I have to do this, this, and this, and I don't have any say in the town for more parking. I can't do this, I can't do that. That's another thing that we do face, is that it does go back and forth between employee and employer and employer to the village. So having a segue for them to be able to communicate better with the board and having a good standing in the community would probably be well worth the time to give to them.
And I'm not sure it's a one-size-fits-all either for the businesses. They probably vary just like citizens vary on their interest. You could start by just, keeping in front of them all the committee meetings that we're having. And if they have an issue that's related to that committee, public comment, they're there for it. It's open. It's not just for citizens, it's for anybody who wants to make a comment. See how that goes. We can always create a committee in the future if we'd like, but.
And that's usually what I've told people in the past is come to the public comments or.
Right, and if you can't be there, you could submit it in writing, send it to Ben, and, people are free to call us as board members too, if they like, and raise their concerns.
Brett, any thoughts?
I will say that we do have every agenda online, the full packet's online. You go under events, you hit the star and it's right there. Long-term, we're building a page for each committee that, much like the board one, that says board minutes, board agendas, maybe even board packets. We don't want to get it clunky, so we're working on a better way to do that. We're also describing each committee online, and we are going to be looking at revisiting the email chain that was once sending out emails and things like that. I think that's a great idea, but I want to make sure that we kind of reset it at zero, because somebody provides their email address to us, it's a public record, and any spam or phishing company could say, I want that, and we have to give it. So I want to make sure that people understand that and acknowledge that, you give us your email and we'll send you out stuff, but somebody else could ask for it too. We just want to make sure that's well known before we start kicking that back out there.
So is what I'm hearing kind of the planning commission, that's something we would all consider, changing that ordinance to opening up to them to decide who's the chair, correct? And then with the committees, I guess the ones I was specifically thinking about, like admin and finance, police and fire, public works, library's already got, other people on it and stuff like that, but those three specifically for a resident, and we could do the one ex officio where they have a voice, but they don't vote. Does that kind of sound good to people? Is that what I'm getting?
Yep. Do that.
Yep.
And then as far as the, maybe a taxpayer not resident, something to think about, and consider maybe, but yeah, okay, I don't know.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
sounds good.
All right, so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
would just need to update the ordinance and then bring it back to the board for final approval?
Yes, you, Fran, and I will get together. We'll have you kind of take the lead on reviewing the draft.
All right.
And we'll get it out here, maybe, maybe even in the October meeting, or you could, I'm not quite sure how we'd need to do it, but it might even be like effective April or May next year as it aligns with elections, just to make sure we get all of our ducks in a row.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for your input. And we will work on that and bring it back to you. All right. Any other questions, comments on that, or can we move on?
Oh,
All right. Next item, 2021 to 2025 CIP budget workshop.
we got it.
Sorry, capital improvement program.
Well, in the spirit of keeping our 2021 budget and planning on track, even though I do have to admit we're a couple weeks behind where I'd like to be, nonetheless, this is a gathering of the board, so I want to get it in front of you. Admin and Finance Committee did meet last week to go over the discussed capital improvement program that's in front of you. we pulled this document from some of the previous CIPs the village had, and then I really opened it up for department heads to provide some thoughts, ideas, needs, and everything to really outline where we see the next 5 years being, and then what we see as being illustrative projects, or your kind of 6 to 10 year knowns that are coming, or 6 to 10 year wish list items that we have. An example being is we don't need to replace a water tower right now, but we know someday in the future that'll come. And as it comes closer, we begin to see it on those out years. So for just a review in front of this group today, I did have a draft capital improvement in front of you. Again, draft is key because we're still working through some of the numbers. It's kind of formatted similar to our general budget would be, with the descriptions on the left and then funding sources on your right-hand side. 2021 is your golden year where we're saying that we're comfortable with these numbers. And the further out you get, things can shift, things can change, but it's a representation of where we sit and where we believe funding needs to go. We have it into the 6 categories. I'm not going to certainly not going to go through this line item by line item, but I do want to highlight on the last page of the capital improvement program, we talk about where the funding will come from for 2021. We'll expand this out for the out years, but for today, it's just the 1 year. We do have funds that we borrowed through our 2020 borrow measure. That's the capital borrowing. And then we have the other 4 buckets of funds, from general operating to utility, impact fee funding, and other funding. Other funding includes airport-related things like that. And our impact fees, we're still getting some clarification on qualified projects or not. Impact fees are a little unique, as you have to use them for very specific purposes, but there is still some leniency within that specific guideline. So all said and told, we're looking at $242,000 worth of 2021 projects, and then allocated out through the various sources. Again, some within budgets, some more capital-based that we borrow for. And then in the out years we go. So for specific projects, on your sheet in front of you, and for Bruce and Van, I did email it to you. We do have example cut sheet, again, just for discussion's sake today, but the focus is every capital improvement item will have a cut sheet that helps to further describe the item, give a little bit more info for our residents, because they look at a spreadsheet and they see numbers. You go to a cut sheet and you actually see physical location of what it means for a resident. And I chose the Simmon Drive one as it ticks off a lot of the buckets for state funding, other partners, and description. So every one of our capital improvement items will have a cut sheet that goes with it within there. The document will also have cover, of course, executive summary that either Jeremy or myself will write as a team, or what have you. And then it'll talk into further details about funding sources and some other things. So with that, I wanted to just kind of go over this with you. Know that we haven't aligned all of the resources yet for the out years, but I want to give you an idea that we do know that there is a request for $20 million worth of projects over the next 10 years, many of which will receive grant funding opportunities, and some of which need to come from general dollars. Again, when you get to the 6 to 10, there's $11 million in that bucket, but that doesn't necessarily mean that 11 million happens within 10 years. Some of those are illustrative and may get kicked out or prioritized forward as funding arrives.
Ben, this I see there's the TIF district is starting to show up. TIF 3 is what I'm assuming some of these projects I see are coming up. So this is kind of would stay on schedule with the TIF if we get through all the improvements and dotted I's and crossed T's. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of our recommended TIF projects were already in prior year capital improvement programs, so it was really easy for us to align those two. But yes, absolutely, we want to legitimize our projects in that proposed TID. If the proposed TID doesn't occur, those projects should still be happening it just becomes a different discussion on where the funding comes from.
Right.
I think the really big thing that I want to reference here is that with our capital equipment pieces, not only do we want to fund projects through general borrowing as bigger equipment purchases occur, but I also recognize the importance of a depreciation schedule, basically funding a reserve that goes in, much like our insurance reserve or the unrestricted cash piggy bank in the village, funding a savings account that when small capital purchases occur, we have the resources for it. And when fixes need to happen or emergency buys, we once again have the resources. The village had this for a long time. It dwindled down a little bit, but we want to get that going back up again. It's just, you know, it's always there. It still is. We just want to commit dollars to fund it as we go on.
And we're still feeding the equipment outlay funds and those types of things, right?
This would propose it, yes. I mean, this in 2021, because funds are tight, we looked at, you know, not being able to invest into that. But yes,
Okay.
the long-term goal is to continue funding those outlays, so not everything is a debt-related capital
Right.
purchase.
Yeah. It'll come. It's just going to take a little bit.
There's been a question on some of the planning items on community development. Aren't some of those operational, or can they be considered capital?
Good question. Some are operational, absolutely. A good example is the funding we give the chamber and Polk County EDC. Not everything within this document is debt-related or capitalized from that regard. Some of it is operational. Other good examples of operational would include, you know, chip sealing could probably be argued as a capital debt borrow as we envision a 7 to 10 year, but crack filling and lane striping wouldn't normally be a debt-related expense.
Okay.
So this is an attempt to say, these are all the things we want to make sure our residents know, but some of it is generalized. And I tried to show that at that bottom breakout.
Oh, I see the project. Okay, thank you, Ben.
And this is aggressive. You know, the village has done some amazing infrastructure, building-wise improvements. We have some more to come, but we really have an aggressive equipment and road infrastructure for years to come. And the important thing is that I would never recommend a capital improvement that isn't obtainable for the following year. A couple of years out, it's aggressive, but know that 2021, we are pretty confident in the dollar numbers we're proposing here, that we can fund those dollar numbers.
Any other questions on the capital improvements?
No.
No? Okay. Do you have anything to talk about the budget part?
For budget, again, we're a couple of weeks behind where we'd like to be. You have the timeline in front of you. As you can see, we are well into September already from a budget planning standpoint.
I'm sorry, but my eyes are old, man. Come on.
Well, that straightened my bifocals, I can tell you.
Okay. I can read that from a mile away, Deb, so.
I know, well, I'm looking at Bob, Joel, and those guys, and thinking, when going back to Brad's 80s nostalgia, it's like, no, we lived there, man. That was.
Okay.
I can't see this.
Yep. Yeah, I'm horrible with spreadsheets, guys. I love them, but they're gonna get complicated. I
Colors are nice, but.
Yeah, the colors are nice.
warn you advance, it will get complicated.
Yeah, if you send it by email, at least I can enlarge it on the screen, so.
Sorry, Ben, just had to pick.
No.
So, yeah, we're a few weeks behind. We're looking at a September 23rd date. Because we are a little behind, I'm gonna be sending a lot of things out digitally for your eyes, and just so you can start to review things. Staff, as Ron said, is working on end-of-year projections for 21. Fran has been doing an awesome job helping reconcile to make sure we're well aware of where we sit for 20. We're actually sitting okay, all things considered. Revenues are coming in where we'd like them to be. We aren't seeing a big hiccup because of this COVID issue. We may see that in a couple of years with state revenues, but Polk County has, they said at the last meeting that they were well over $1 million greater in sales tax revenue than what they thought. So the county is doing well. I think that's a testament to the overall state and the health of our state. And we're hopeful that continues on for steady revenues. We also saw phenomenal growth last year. We saw new construction, and we fully anticipate that to continue for the next few years, to the point that this village is going to have to really start pushing developers hard to do the next subdivision extension, as Pheasant Run is getting close to full, and Gateway is well, you just saw they built another new 5 permits in August. So all of these are playing into where we're sitting for the 21 budget as hopefully being pretty stable, hopefully looking good, and I hope to check off all those boxes of putting 25,000 right off the top into savings, and funding the officers now a good picture, and trying to tick off a lot of those requests you put on me for next year.
Cool.
All right. Anything else? All right, thank you, Ben. Next item, permits and licenses. We have the first, conditional obstruction permits. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Staff did review these, and the Historical Preservation Committee did provide some recommendations. Normally, we would love to see all yeses, but in this case, there was 2 separate recommendations made at that August 25th meeting. They did recommend approval of conditional obstruction permits for Uptown Gifts, Adelaide Treasures, and Coming Home, while they made a recommendation of denial for Sodi Cigar Shop, Osceola Lanes, Croyland Leatherworks, and Coffee Bark. The biggest reason why they made the recommendation of approval was that those signs were deemed to be compliant in materials and overall compliance in location, with the exception of Adore's Treasures that likes to put theirs in the intersection or in that vision corner. The sign is compliant, and we can work with them to make sure they shift it the 15 feet left or right to comply. Versus the 4 that we recommended denial on was that their materials were not correct. They just did not meet the criteria, and there's really no place in our regulations that give us any leniency on allowing those signs. But Historical Preservation Committee and staff really recognize the concern that these businesses have. Even though the chamber said everybody's doing well, the fear is that if we pull these signs, and even though they've all been aware of the signs that are not compliant, if we just require them to be pulled immediately, that might reverse some of the safe or the public health concerns and reverse their growth. So Historical Preservation Committee worked around that a little bit by saying these signs have to come down, but we give them a window to have it removed or to bring it in compliance. I couldn't find anything in our local code that says you can't do that, as our local code does say that the village may require the signs to be removed. It didn't say that it has to. And I'm not really a big fan of sneaky rules, but I think this is a way for the board to say these issues are there. Everybody has to bring in the compliance, but we also recognize that this is a unique year and we need to make sure it's done effective. So that was what the Historical Preservation Committee recommended. The recommendations were provided on the edge of the memo, and hopefully that provides just a little bit of guidance for where this committee or this board could go if they chose to take this further.
Kind of speaking as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission and having that, having been on there longer than I've been on the board, the sandwich board is something that we've discussed a lot. I think it's something we've all here have discussed a lot, and I think it's something that we may want to look a little closer at to see usefulness, purpose, things like that. You know, I've been, I mean, New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, you name it, the cities like that I've been in, even Minneapolis, St. Paul. Generally, a sandwich board is quite often used to advertise something that's happening inside the business. Outside a restaurant to say today's special is. Outside a shop or a store or something like that to kind of say, you know, today we have, you know, 20% off something. To me, I'm starting to wonder, you know, and again, I always go back to, we don't want to do things to hurt our businesses, but they've become just, in a lot of ways, just another sign. And so then we have our codes for the amount of sign space that's allowed per business, per square footage, everything. And do these need to start being figured into that because they just are another sign? Or do we need to look at some different educational aspects to them, or theories and thoughts that we may have on how to either better utilize them or fit them in some different way?
Yeah, I guess I'm curious too, what the idea behind them, you know, like to Deb's point where it says, you know, a special on a lunch, or, you know, where, oh, I see that and now I want to go in there specifically, but some are just for the business, but then there's a sign on the business, and for the most part, we're all using these to find the business. Because I've had to move a couple that are actually blocking crosswalks at times. So, and I don't, do they benefit the business in a great way? Do they not? As far as, do we do these once a year, the renewals?
Yes.
Okay.
So is there a code on how much signage each business can have?
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of simple. I mean,
Well-
if they're advertising a business name on their signage board, that should be included as their business name on their, to me, that's all they're doing is they're extending their advertising for their building. So,
Well, and there is a second component I want to remind, is that conditional obstruction permits include, you know, flower pots that may be additional to village, or some of the bicycles and other things. So it's more than just the sign.
right,
It's just the sign is the number one thing we get requests for.
yep.
But with that, I mean, talking specifically about the sandwich board signs, you know, the other pieces outside there are more eye-attracting than just another sign advertising the business. And that's where I start to wonder, you know, how do they fit? How could they be better utilized or something, you know,
So, yeah, and this thought popped in my head, like I get some of those off the main drag businesses where they want that out for people, oh, that's where it is, or maybe pique some interest. I know like Two Harbors, they actually have physical signs, you know, where they can change them out. So they don't have sandwich boards that say, oh, the brewery's this way, you know, or these businesses down this road, which, I don't know, something to think about, but, and, I don't know. Just to get more access on the sidewalk, especially with like a summer like this where there was tons of people downtown. But I guess for these that are before us, what do we want to do?
So if they improve these signs to meet the code or whatever they have to, they could still have the signs currently right now. The reason these were denied was because they didn't meet the historical preservation, right? So if they wanted to improve them, they could still have them.
If they, right now, they did not meet our village code. If they wanted to resubmit an application with a new proposal with a sign that meets code, or then the
Then they
board
could
would
have
revisit it.
Anytime, yeah.
Yep.
We're just giving them till the end of the year to do that, or to get rid of them.
I'd move to adopt the recommendations outlined in the memo. Would that be appropriate?
So I have a question. So it was the Village Historic Preservation that made these recommendations. Are we able to go back to them to look for recommendations to share with these business owners that may be denied the conditional use permit? I don't want
Yeah.
to say no to them without providing them a path
So-
forward. You know, I think about Croyland Leatherworks, for
Right.
example. That sign has been on the corner for 22 years,
yeah.
as long as I've lived here.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, that sign's been approved, but it's always been noted that it should be in front of his business and
Right.
not on the corner,
Right.
because it's not permitted to be anywhere but in front of
And
your
I've seen
business.
it move around frequently, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of the things that many times probably every single Historic Preservation Commission meeting, they're probably tired of me saying it. These guys are probably tired of hearing me say it. I'm a big proponent of us kind of creating some sort of like onboarding for things that we do. And one of them is to help our businesses that are new to kind of say, here are some ideas and thoughts and everything. And trying to create something that kind of says, here's some guidelines, here's the way to do everything. But I think we need to kind of firm up our thoughts and ideas on that. But yes, that's definitely something I think we should do, is come up with, tips and ideas and thoughts and say, this is the reason it wasn't in compliance. Here's a way to make it in compliance. But yeah, I'm with you on that, yeah.
Well, and it's not even compliance per se, it's just, these are opinions that were shared by this group that said, all right, these three look like they should be approved, these three should not, but for the ones that should not be approved, let's give them a path that they can, at least some suggestions, because they're gonna see that others are going to be approved, and then there's going to be some discussion among business owners about that, so.
A number of years ago, too, the city adopted updated signage code for sandwich board signs. It had a lot of pictures of what is permitted, what's not, by examples. So that provides, I think, a lot of benefit to them. It gives them ideas.
I have to interrupt a little bit, just for clarity's sake. I hate to put on my Robert's Rules and legal hat, but the motion was made by Joel that is on the table. I gotta say that if we want to, Joel, you could either just take that, rescind that, or let it die, and then we can continue that.
I'll leave it out there, see if it's seconded.
So Joel, you made a motion as is here, approving the 3 and denying the, what was it, 1, 2, the 4?
Well, just a thought. I mean, I think we've given them time to investigate
Hold on one second.
and figure.
Just to what Ben was trying to get us to,
If there's gonna be discussion beyond, right now.
so the
there's a
motion's on the
motion out there.
table.
So
Before we continue discussion, let's see if a second comes
Okay.
out.
if a second dies, if it, wait a little bit and it
If
dies,
there's
then.
a quick question on that, if there's a second, we can still continue the discussion.
Oh, yeah.
You could
So-
discuss after,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, so I'll second that Joel's motion.
Okay, so motion by Joel, seconded by Deb to approve the 3 recommended and deny the 4 as recommended by Historic Preservation. Any questions or comments?
This is Bruce. My
ahead.
comment is, we're giving him till December 31st to get the things squared away, which gives them, number one, time. They don't have to fix it tomorrow. And we can have that discussion and show them the path to get there between now and December. So I think it's reasonable and fair.
This is Ben. Part of what the committee has to do is, over the years, there's been so many things that have not been corrected over the years. And one business says to the other, once you start enforcing things, well, why do they get to do this and I can't do that? Or why do they have this sign and I can't? There's certain colors that are allowed, up to three colors on a sign, and it's done for a reason, for what makes this town so historical. And what we're bringing to it on Main Street is the look. Now, what happens is they do have the time. They're going to have the resources to look at all the examples that the Historic Committee has. They do have colored brochures. The only thing else, and we did talk about that, as far as what the Historic Committee and what the Chamber Main Street Committee should also do, is to make sure that when a welcome packet is given to a new business, they got all the phone numbers, the contacts, those things, and of course, rules on the signs, whether the folding signs or business signs, because not too long ago, we actually ran into a problem where a new business, kind of in between everything, and it's been a kind of a crazy year, or since March, since this COVID, but a lot of things, sometimes they fall through the cracks. And in this case, a new business did. And they were really angry because they couldn't have a large sign sitting on the sidewalk that looked totally out of place to what the other stores had around them. And they were angry because, I don't know if they were angry, they were frustrated because they did not have the information and it took them by surprise. I think now that person is going to be on another committee and they're going to get involved. But I think you're right. Brad has a point where we need to lay out that information ahead to new businesses. But most businesses, for some reason, do get the word, but for some reason, this other one fell through the crack. But we need to improve on that. You're right. We do need to improve. But we also have to draw the line as a municipality, as if we're going to have safety features and where these signs are located, we also have to go with the aesthetics to what the business owners want too, as far as in a group setting as business owners on Main Street. That's all I got to say.
So if we do happen to deny these, can we make sure they get information showing what they need to do to bring them up to code at the same time?
Yes. Yes.
I'll take it as a friendly amendment.
Yep.
So, and it is with the following conditions that they'd have up till December 31st to fix it. I have a question as far as how does someone acquire the conditional use permit? Do they have to come in and get it? Does it get emailed to them?
We notified business owners.
You notify?
Yeah, we notified them of the permit, and I believe Fran gave them information, links to the resources, and
So I'm just curious, when they get this, do they get some sort of, with the actual, what it should be made of, all of that information?
I do believe we included links to all of the resources.
A letter in there that one business
Okay.
received.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. All right. So, any other questions, comments? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Next, operator license. We have 3 before us. I believe they're all recommended. Check again.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3.
I'll second that.
Motion by Deb, second by Van to approve all 3 operator license. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Kennel license. We have one for 614 Summit Street. It is recommended for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Bob, seconded by Joel to approve the kennel license. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Great, but
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, board, committee, commission, and agency reports. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. July 2nd, 2020, admin and finance. July 7th, 2020, historic preservation. July 20th, 2020, airport commission. July 30th, 2020, airport commission. August 4th, 2020, planning commission, and August 13th, 2020, Osceola Library Board.
Quick question on July 7th Historic Preservation Committee. Well, 2 things. One, it's commission, not committee. But also, it's the agenda in there and not minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry for that.
I saw that. I just.
Good catch, Deb.
Yeah.
wow.
Well, look at that. You guys could just strike it,
Should we strike it and we'll put it on?
and we can just put it on the next one.
Make a note to do that. All right. So we will be striking the July 7th, 2020 Historic Preservation Commission.
So then we need a motion to approve those. I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Deb, second by Joel to approve the 5 reports. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
All those opposed? Passed. Approval of vouchers payable.
I'll move.
I'll second. This is Bruce.
Motion to approve by Joel, seconded by Bruce. Any questions or comments?
I did have one. On August 26th, there's that whole series of just kind of small ones out there. I don't want to go name by name or whatever. Just curious what those are.
Fran, would you like to explain this one?
what, this is Van. I didn't, Deb, could you repeat what you said?
Starting on page 3 with August 26th, and just kind of running through page 4, a little rolls
Yeah.
to page 5. Just curious what all the little pieces are.
Yes. Are you looking at the ones that are for similar dollar amounts?
Yeah.
You're looking at page 4?
Yep.
Okay, I can tell you what those are.
Into the mic, good.
Is your mic on?
Okay, what those are refunds of special assessments that were placed on people's tax bills in error. There was a miscommunication last year between the county and the village on special assessments to be placed on a tax roll. Involved quite a large Excel spreadsheet and some columns being unhidden. So assessments that had already been paid in full had a payment put, an assessment put on their tax bill. And we couldn't remove that assessment from their tax bill, so the people had to pay it. They paid their tax bill, paid the assessment, and then we turned around and we audited all of those payments, and we refunded that back to the people who were already paid in full. We apologize for the delay it took in doing that. It was a little bit of a task to go through all of that, and we also wanted our auditors to verify that we were providing the correct amount to the proper people. So those checks have been issued.
Thank you. It makes sense. I just wasn't, I had a sense maybe that, but thank you.
Unfortunately, the county got a big spreadsheet, as Fran said, and they just unhid columns that they weren't supposed to be using. So we're remedying the situation by just not giving them that option in the future. They've never done it before. I don't know why they chose to do that in error this time. Things happen.
Sorry. Is this everyone that was affected by that?
Yes.
Okay.
And two, the county had new staff, and we had new staff. This is probably like a week after I started work here. And we just inadvertently had a miscommunication, so I apologize for that, and everyone has been made whole now and has back what they overpaid in error.
Nobody wanted to gift it to us, so.
Darn it. Thank you.
And with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye. All those opposed? Passed. Discussion of and action on any other appropriate items. We'll start online. Van.
just a couple of things, nothing too vague. Just say, welcome, Mr. Lutz to the board. And the other thing is, Fran, you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much for your hard work. I know you've been struggling with your leg and all the stuff coming down that we've been pushing and pressing. And you're doing a good job. And you too, Ben, I can't leave you out. Really appreciate you guys' work. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Bruce?
Bruce, I just wanted to echo Van's statement. I'm really feeling lucky that we've got Ben and Fran on our staff and that they've provided so much input and advice on things that we may not be familiar with as board members because we are new to, some of us are new to the job. And Brad, anytime you got a question, feel free to ask somebody or everybody because it's the only way we can learn. I especially wanted to call out both Fran and Ben for their work on that whole issue with the mine and the discussions thereof and all that. That was a tremendous amount of work that went on to put those meetings on. And I think everybody felt like, I hope they felt they got heard. They may not have been agreed with, but I think everybody can say they at least got to speak their piece. So I'm just happy that's hopefully behind us and I'm looking forward to working on the budget. So that's all for me.
Excellent. Thanks. Bob?
Yes, I do. I'm assuming everyone got the same packet information I got from Mill Pond Learning Foundation.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just wondering if we were going to have to respond to that in any way. I know I made my thoughts clear to Ben and Jeremy that I don't want to change my mind. I'm just wondering if we're going to respond to them.
Just to give Brad a little background, we received something from the Mill Pond Learning Foundation. I believe Deb, I think we all received it. Ben, you did get yours Friday. It was a packet responding to last board meeting, decision that was made.
Last board, yeah,
Two
two meetings ago, because we had a special meeting, I think.
Yeah, it was a ways back, but if you'd like to see the packet at any point or the letter. I don't really know how to respond to it at this time.
I'm just wondering if we do respond to it or we just assume they're not going to move forward.
Yeah, I didn't put it on this month's agenda because I'm still kind of thinking about it. Personally, I just thought it was kind of an odd letter. It was almost an email. But no, I mean, basically the gist I got, and correct me if I'm wrong, was they didn't like our ideas. So I'm personally sticking with my ideas, and maybe we'll have you respond, Ben, maybe just with the thoughts you get from the board.
Just want to
members.
make sure they don't all of a sudden come in here one day and we got signs up all over.
Well, they can't do that. I mean, they could, but they can't.
Okay,
So
that's all I have.
yeah. Joel.
Nothing.
All right. I just want to say, Brad, thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the ride. I'd like to thank Ron again on the grant and all the work you did on that. And obviously, Fran and Ben, thank you for everything you do, and thank all of the employees for everything they do. Appreciate everyone's time again.
All I have is, welcome Ben, or welcome Brad too, and my request to you for the next few months is to track the things that you see that would be good for making an onboarding packet for a new board member. I know it's one of the things that we've talked with Ben on everything and kind of tasked him to, but this is an opportune time to have somebody who's new, who we can lean on to say, hey, what are you seeing? What do you think? What would be helpful? To kind of put something together as we have new members come on. So look forward to working with you.
Brad?
Well, I just want to express my appreciation to everybody for their welcoming comments. I'll reserve my comments about how excited I am to be on the board after I've been through 2 meetings. Just kidding. No, I'm excited to get to work. I think it's going to be an enlightening experience, and really, it's a way for me to expand my knowledge base. I've spent plenty of years in this town living here, and now I would like to spend some time actually living here.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks everyone again for your time tonight, and we will adjourn at 7:54 p.m. Have a good
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.